more straightforward, you can leave them in here.
Yeah,
you can hear there's a few
non-sensitive settings.
Non-sensitive settings.
The non-sensitive ones.
Exactly. Now you'll notice that you've got a few other system web server settings. The only important one here is that the WebSocket enables actually put the false, which sounds a little counterintuitive, but there's a whole reason behind this. And if you wanted to read more about it, go to the blog. But essentially, basically, what it means is that by setting this to false, we are telling IIS, the server that's running the Azure website, not to use its implementation of WebSockets, but to actually run the node.js implementation.
Oh, gotcha.
It's so something,
this is configuring. This is more about. It's not about you, Node, as much as it is about the server that's going to handle all that stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah. So now what's really cool about the rest of this file is it's very simple. You've got the IIS node here that says, hey, watch out for any of changes that happen to any .javascript file. So anytime I push an update to my website, if there's a change to a .js file, it will restart the website and it will just keep functioning.
Oh, nice.
So you don't need to manually do that. It'll just work the minute you push something. And that's why doing something like GitHub push tends to work very well, because the minute I just commit something to my source control, any source code changes to a JavaScript file will restart my server.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about that.
That reminds me just about something that we never really talked about with just running Node locally, or at least running Node, is that, if you're doing something, especially if you're starting out and you have a major error and it crashes your server, or you update a file, the way that we're running Node right now, it's not going to update it automatically. It's not going to restart that server. You have to go in and redo that again. So if you're making changes, you need to go and change that again. Now you can get certain modules, obviously. Of course, there's a module for everything. There's a module for that. And so you can go and get modules that will do that for you. Like, I think Forever Monitor, or one of those that will basically...
Forever will keep running Node, even if it crashes. It'll just rerun it again forever.
Right. So it's just one of those. Forever. But it's really handy when you start working with those things, because, it's not just about Node crashing, it's about those changes. Because you might change something and then it doesn't matter. It's not going to, address those changes. So you need to go and basically restart the server.
Yeah, the last thing that I would say you should pay attention to in here, and that's only if you want to ever change it, in this line 27, you've got app.js, and this is the place where we're telling the IIS node module that this is the entry point to our app.
Right, so if we named it something different,
if you named it like server.js, you need to make sure that you change it here, otherwise the website won't know what to run.
Right.
Now that we've taken a look at this, there's one last thing I want to show you. And that is the web.debug.config file. And this is the debug version of this web config file.
Right.
And these two files are actually you only need the web config file to deploy to Azure websites.
Right.
But if you ever wanted to use debugging tools, you actually can. And now the neat thing about debugging and remote debugging on Azure websites, and I'll show you how to actually do that a little later, it actually uses WebSockets to debug.
How meta. I heard you like WebSockets, so I'm going to put some WebSockets for your WebSockets.
Yeah, you debug your WebSockets using WebSockets.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It totally makes sense, though, when you think about it. It's an amazing implementation for it.
It is, and if you look at it, essentially what they do is they add a little handler that is basically a WebSocket proxy for Node.js Tools debugger, and it just gets up and running. Now, we won't start remote debugging right away. I actually want to show you how to deploy first.
So that debug config, is that something you create? Is that something that is...
So it's created right away whenever you do a new project with a basic Node.js website.
Gotcha.
Let me show you what that is, because I don't think we mentioned it.
Yeah, no. So if you want to start a new project in Visual Studio, we opened up previous projects, so we didn't start anything from scratch.
But if you wanted to... Yeah, you basically go file, new project, as I did real quickly right there. And then you want to scroll down. I know, I'm sorry, I did a little too quick.
Fast clicking,
fast typing. It's not good at all. Okay, so you want to go into templates, and then JavaScript, and then Node.js. And in there, you've got a bunch of different options, and among them is a basic Azure Node.js web application, and even a basic Azure Node.js Express application. And of course, you can go online and find more templates, but these are the ones that you need to get started, and this will get it set up so that you can actually right-click on the project and be able to publish to Azure websites. and it will also include the web config files.
Perfect. So you don't have to worry about doing those from scratch or anything.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be able to remember it at all.
I know,
It's
that's
just like
why
no way.
I can't. I know where to go change things, but if I had to do from scratch, anytime I've had to do any kind of those server things like that, I never remember. I always have to look it up.
Yeah. So let me show you how to publish. Are you guys excited? Hopefully you are.
I like the way you said it. Are you guys excited? I hope you are.
I think it's toward the end of the day and my voice is slowly.
Yeah, it's slowly going. But
slowly
you know,
going, but I will try really hard.
show me how. Show me how.
All right, enough talking, more showing.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yes.
let me do that again because I did it real quick.
I can mime it for you too. If you
I right-clicked on the project and I pressed publish.
right.
This will pop up a really cool wizard. I was gonna say awesome. I changed. I'm getting all of this like attention to me every time I say
Most
awesome.
people worry about for you, you got to worry about awesome.
Yeah. All right. So you got different options that you could use. And this is like the publishing target. It's where you want it to go.
Sure.
Now you can also import an existing profile for where you want to push a website to, but in my case, I'm just going to do it from scratch just to show you what the wizard looks like. So the way that you do that is you literally select Azure Websites.
Yep.
Okay, tells me I'm signed in. It looks up to see maybe there's an existing website that I want to publish to.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to create a new one because I
Yeah.
like to do everything.
Yeah, you don't want to use my stuff. No, I get it. I get it. Not good enough for you. Whatever.
So I'm going to do test node MVA,
Yep.
and it's going to tell me, hey, this is available. This is good to go. I can choose which region I want to go. I'm going to choose the West US because that's where we're located right now. And
I always forget that. I was like, East.
we're actually both from
We're
the
both
East
from the
Coast.
East. Yeah,
So we're always
yeah.
like default is
Yeah.
like East US, but we're
Yeah.
not there.
Hey, you know what I've been thinking about? This is just a random thought, but I've been thinking a lot about this. Sorry, totally rando, and I know that we're off track. Okay, I've been saying pop all day. I want to pop, okay? So I understand it's soda here, but where is it? What is it in other places? Please let me know. I will check.
Tweet at Stacy.
Tweet at me or let me know in the chat later. I will check. Let's go back to what we should be focusing on.
Awesome, cool.
Things in my brain. Awesome.
Yeah, so we can also create a database in case you ever needed one, and this is going to create a SQL server.
Okay.
But in our case, we don't need a database.
We don't need that.
Because we're going to use Mongo instead. So I can just set node database and press create, and the minute I do that, it's going to do a little progress bar at the bottom, basically saying creating the site. And
I'm
then
working.
in
I am working.
a few seconds, it should be ready to go.
This is where we just
Anytime
wait.
now.
Yeah, we're just quiet and we wait. Because if you watch it, it will work faster.
There we go. So it's run, and the next thing it moves me to is this connection section, and this is going to be pre-filled for you. You don't even need to worry about it. You can just take a look at it. But just out of curiosity, there are other options and other ways to deploy
Cool.
to a website. You can use a web deploy package, FTP. You can just synchronize the file system. However you wish to do it, you can. And I'm going to press next because I do want to show you some of the settings. Now, the settings are interesting in the sense that you can change between debug and release. The minute you go to the debug option, it's going to use the web.debug.config option.
Right.
It's going to use that one. And if you want to use the release mode, it will use that one, and it won't have some of the extra WebSocket debugging tools installed. So just for this exercise at the moment, we're going to use release. Now, I would not recommend you click this because what it'll do is it'll remove additional files at the destination.
Yeah.
So things like Stylus that's automatically generating the CSS,
Yeah.
you don't want to have it remove those.
Right.
And you certainly don't want to have it exclude files from the app data folder that you might need. So
Right.
if you press next from here, what you'll get is this little preview window. And this is really useful to see what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So I press start preview.
I love that. It's amazing. Hold on. Before you commit, we're going to let you preview.
Yeah, well, because
Yeah.
sometimes the web deploy does not use any repo or any
Right.
source control. It just
Right.
takes a look at what has changed.
Yeah.
And for some reason, our preview has failed. That's not good. Try it again. All right. Well, I assure you, normally it works. We won't dwell on it too long. If I press publish, it's going to start publishing, and you'll notice at the bottom that there's this web publish activity, and I believe it's actually going to fail, and there's a specific reason for that. There we go.
You predicted correct.
Awesome. I must be clairvoyant or something. Okay, so the web deploy tool web publish tool will fail a little bit, and the reason for that is because it needs to copy all the files to a temporary location before it can then copy them to the Azure website.
Okay.
Now the issue is that our node modules tend to have really long file paths because there's all these nested folders in each other.
Yeah.
So the issue
and version numbers, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So it takes so if you take a look at it, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
And tells you that it's a little too much.
Yeah.
So what you might want to do if you're planning on using the web publish tool is you want to actually close the solution. You don't have to close Visual Studio, just close the solution and move it to the root of your drive, and that typically will solve the problem. Because right now it's on this equally long path. So if I go edit it, it's pretty far up there.
Yeah, sure.
So one thing that I do that I find tends to work really well, I can just Control Copy, go to the base of my disk, press Copy Paste. It will copy.
Get a graph.
Get a nice little cool graph in Windows 8.1.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah,
needs sound effects.
It's doing work.
Everything needs sound effects. Be so much better. So just by copying it over, you're reducing the depth of your folders, and therefore, your whole path will be a little bit shorter.
Yeah, and then the web publish tool will
like you again.
It will like me again, exactly. Did it open the right? Oh no, it opened the wrong Visual Studio. Oh, apologies, I should not have double-clicked on things.
Give us a second. We'll just let this open and then get the right.
Again. You can use Visual Studio Express, actually. It will work.
But you've got the other one configured with everything that you need.
Exactly, and it's signed in. That's the key point.
Yeah.
It's actually signed in. So I won't be able to use a recent solution because it's changed location. I'm going to have to go open project solution, browse to the root of my disk, go all the way down, or not all the way down, and open it from here. Got it open. So you can see I'm logged in as my Azure account. That's the only reason why we are using this Visual Studio and not the Express version, because it's already set up.
I like the name. It's great. It's an ode to us both.
Yeah. All right. Give it a second. It's going to load. All right. Everything seems to be functioning. Here we are again. Let's give this another shot. Now you'll notice the next time I do publish, it's actually going to take the existing settings for me. So in this case, it's going to take me straight to the end.
Yep.
And the reason for that is because all of these settings are going to be saved in this pub.xml file right here.
Oh,
and it's going to contain the name of your website. So you can actually have multiple websites configured, and it will publish every single time correctly. So if I go back and I go publish, I'm hoping that there is enough space on the file path for it to do everything correctly, and we should be able to get things up online.
You know what? If it does and it works, I'm going to celebrate for you with cake.
Awesome.
Yeah, or pizza, or both.
Or pizza. I think we're definitely going to have to go get cake afterwards now.
Oh,
and pizza.
Cake. Oh, chocolate cake.
So you see it's working.
Yeah, there it goes.
Everything's good to go. It's adding these files. It might take a little bit of time, but there's a lot of files to add.
Yeah, you can see all the directories.
Yeah, and that's because there's a lot of modules being used. And you can see how the modules sort of tend to nest into each other. Like Express has its own node modules that it needs to install.
Yeah. And
then they also have their own node modules, so it can get really long.
Well, I mean, a lot of those modules might have dependencies that they use from other things. So, they've got to go and pull that stuff and maintain that in some kind of a way.
All right, it seems like we're almost done deploying.
You can do it. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So we've got our test node MVA. Now, in theory, this should give me my chat window. There we go.
Nice.
Success. We've got
Yeah.
it. All right, now I'm going to close this, and I think it's time to show us GitHub.
Yeah, I think so. That's just one way to to deploy. Oops, sorry. Let me just open up where I should be. That's just one way to deploy a site of some sort. Now, we're not going to walk through all the exact things, but I just want to show you something really quickly because I tend to like to deploy things from GitHub. And so what I'm going to do is just to kind of show you through the examples very quickly is I'm just going to maybe create a new website and then kind of walk you through the steps that you need to do and then what it actually has. Or, you know what, one of these might, yes, I want to leave this. Okay, let's see. I believe one of these is hooked up for GitHub. So one of the things that's dashboard, configure, linked resources. Okay, one more check. Nope, it's gonna be this one. Sorry, guys. So one thing about GitHub is that, the way I like to work personally is I like to work locally and push a lot of things up into, we'll use this one for example, but I like to push a lot of things from GitHub because what it means is that I can work locally and I can make sure everything works good and I know it's good, but then I can, basically push my changes to GitHub, my remote repository, whatever it may be, and then Azure will just automatically see that there is something new in GitHub and deploy it for you. And so it kind of creates that whole, continuous, deployment, if you want to call it that, for you. And you don't have to worry about going to, moving anywhere out of your development space that you're doing whatsoever. So, if you wanted to, set up deployment from source control. Once again, there's a bunch of ways to deploy. We showed Visual Studio. We talked a little bit about FTP if that's how you like to work. And you can also set up deployment from source control. Now, source control, very vague term, right? I'm talking about GitHub, but source control can be a variety of things. And here's what Azure sees as potential source controls that you might be using. And so we have, again, Visual Studio Online if you want to use that. We have a local Git repository. So maybe you're just working on something a little experimental or whatnot, and you're not ready to really commit that to your remote repository. Maybe you never commit it to your remote. I don't know. Depends on how you work. You might just, choose a local Git repository. You can go and, there's GitHub. It also uses Dropbox. All of these things just go through and they go through the OAuth required for your credentials. And then you can just pick what you want to do. So if I'm doing GitHub, I'm just going to kind of show you here. I'm going to have to put in my username and my password, which is password. Kidding, I would love for it to be password. And I can start to see what things I might potentially want to deploy. So it gives me the repository and I can go to, node MVA sample, for example. And I can say what branch to deploy. Now, I only have one branch, for example, in this repository, and it's master, so it's only going to deploy master. But like I was saying previously, if you're a person who likes to have a production and a staging environment, you could create two websites you could deploy from GitHub. And so you could choose master to be, your good to go golden kind of production version. And you could use your staging be, your develop branch or whatever you kind of taxonomy you use for calling your branches. Also, maybe you just want to deploy a branch and see what it looks like. So, you basically go through, you do that, and then what's going to happen is it's going to link it. And again, I don't really have anything in the repository to necessarily show in terms of a site, but it's going to take a couple of the files that are there anyways and push it, because I just want to show you more of those files being pushed. And it says, okay, we've linked this for you now. And, if there are items, it'll show momentarily. Now, maybe you just created a remote repository, you haven't put anything in there, and you're just trying to do all of your kind of setting up your environment. And so, it will go ahead and do that. But what it does is you'll start to see now that we have a new item up here, and it's called deployments, right? And so deployments, once again, it wouldn't matter if it's GitHub or if you're using Dropbox or any of those kind of things, they'll show up under here. And every deployment, every time you make a change, it's going to go ahead and deploy those things. And so we're waiting. It's it's going through. It's getting the files, and it's going to grab them from GitHub and deploy them. And so now I can see my comment. For example, I put new structure as a comment here. Who authored it? So if I'm working on a project with multiple people and something's been posted, I can start to see those deployments happen.
And the ID actually links, I believe, straight to the actual GitHub commit.
Yeah, completely. And so, you start to see all of those commits that are coming down the pipe. And, anytime you make a new change, you push it right from GitHub, and you don't even have to be in here. We just happen to be here now, but you don't have to be in the portal. It's going to show up, and it's going to show up as your active deployment is the one that is currently deployed and kind of staged, and it's out there. And you'll see all your other ones too that, that might have been deployed, the time they were deployed, etc. So, kind of deploying stuff from source control, once again, it's all on how you like to work, and there's a bunch of different options for you. But deploying from source control is just a matter of authorizing, picking what you want to choose, making sure that it's out there, and then from then on, it's just going to look for any kind of changes, and it's always going to go ahead and deploy those kind of things. So we're showing Node, but maybe you're working in WordPress and you have it under source control. For example, you might be working this way. Maybe you're working on something else along those lines. And so one more option for you is just hooking into source control. And again, like I said, it really depends on how you want to work.
All right, so now I think the most powerful part of this module, which is remote debugging.
Oh yeah.
This is the
this is when you need a bug all over the screen. Yeah. Sorry, Barry. We're giving Barry just a run for his money today. But yeah, remote debugging. Yeah. Yeah.
So Barry, if you can switch to my Visual Studio. Now, if you remember, we deployed this Node project not too long ago. Now.
5 minutes.
Yeah, literally 5 minutes ago. So here's something that's really cool, and there's this tab called Server Explorer. Now, if you don't see it on your Visual Studio window, what you need to do is just go press View and press Server Explorer, and it will pop up. And among the different options that you do get is Azure. So now, if I click on this, it's going to give me all different services that are available on Azure. The one that I care about is websites. If I click on websites, it's going to go to my Azure account, and me and Stacy are both signed into the same account, and it's going to list the different websites that I have available for me. Now, the one that I had deployed with was this one. If I open this, I'll actually be able to see a bunch of different things. Among them, the files, a folder, and the log files folder. So we've been logging throughout the time, and sometimes we've been using the verbose logging. We can change that setting in the configure tab. Stacy showed us this. What we can do here is that we can actually expand this and be able to see the application logs. So if there's any logging errors, this will download the text file, and there we go. We can see that, in fact, we could not connect to Mongo, which is correct because we did not set the process and the custom URI. And that's fine. We won't fix it at the moment. But the other cool thing is that you also get errors that potentially happen with deployment using Git, and you can trace things and you can see things. Now, here's something that's really cool, and this feature I actually absolutely adore, and this is being able to see the logs in real time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to log files. I'm going to right-click, press refresh. That will get you the application, the logging errors again. Sorry, I went and right-clicked at the wrong place. That is not real-time, that is synchronous. The real-time option...
I was waiting. I was just like, come on. Come on. Show me. Oh.
So the real-time version is when you right-click on the actual website name and you go to View Streaming Logs. Now, if the minute I connect, it'll take me to the last logs, and you'll notice I had a user connected. Now, if someone is trying to connect to my application, I believe someone is, I'm going to
It's neat.
Yeah, a few folks are entering our page. I can see this
Yeah.
all live.
Yeah, we know what you're doing.
We know what you're doing.
The
I don't
truth
even
is
know.
right here.
And the nice thing is that you guys, even if you posted messages on there, they won't be in the database, but we can see you logging in live, which is really cool. And this is all streaming live, so it will follow at the end. And if you press this button, you can download it as well. Now, that's one way to debug what's happening on your Azure website with Node. The other option is being able to actually attach a debugger to your actual Node process. And that will only work if you published using the debug mode. But the minute that you did do that, and let's say that we redo it, but we probably won't because we're running out of time, the minute I press attach debugger with node.js, it's not going to be able to attach at the moment because the WebSocket debug proxy is not available. But the minute that we do deploy with debug, and you go and you attach a breakpoint to any line of your code, it's going to break inside Visual Studio. So you do not need to try to use your logging mechanism as a way to debug. You can literally debug and step through your code base live, even though it's on Azure. Now, this will also work for other situations where perhaps you've deployed to something other than Azure. You can still attach the debugger to any remote Node process, and the way to do that is by checking out our blog, and you'll be able to see that. See how to do that as well. And this is all part of Node Tools for Visual Studio. It's all available in Node Tools for Visual Studio.
Yeah. You get a lot of love out of the Node tools, from the templates
and the
to
debugging,
the publishing, everything that you need to do. Yeah.
It's a fantastic tool set. So I think with that, we are getting close towards the end, as sad as I am.
Yeah. We definitely are. It's one of those, we covered a lot.
There's so much more we could show you.
Yeah,
there's just
you guys got
more.
time? You want to stick around for a couple more hours? You can order a pizza and just get it done. So we've covered all ground. At least I like to think from the ground up how to work with Node.js. Maybe you have some familiarity, maybe you don't. You can go and try it out and see what's going on. We tried to hit a lot of those things, from Node to Express, Jade, Mongo. There was a lot that we put in and tried to jam into today. So thank you so much for trying to stick with us. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Someone said we should have an awesome jar, which I thought was a really great idea, because I would be so rich right now. It would be just like,
and
ding,
I would be
ding,
poor.
Ding. So once again, just a quick reminder that there is a poll. I believe it's down here. Take a poll. We take this feedback very seriously. We try to make these things the best that they can be for you. So if you can take the time to do the poll, that would be awesome. It would be really great, because
awesome.
because we utilize that info. So once again, thank you very much. Happy Web Wednesday. Hope to see you again soon.